Hey friends, Ryan Smith again, pastor at Common Thread Church. I hope that you're having a good day. I'm out here outside in between the rain showers that's going on here, trying to get some outside time in. I hope that you are doing well and that this finds you at a good place in your life. And if you're not, I hope that God surrounds you with people that can love on you during this time. Today I simply want to tell a Jesus story. And I know for some of you guys, don't want to turn off. You've had enough Jesus stories. But I want to encourage you to stay with me on this one, because I think that this one has a lot of power in it and has a lot of application for us today in what it means to hear the story. And even if you don't believe in Jesus or believe in the Bible, I think this has a lot of wisdom for us in what's going on in the world. But the story starts out that Jesus is on the east side of the Jordan River, which is the one that runs up and down the middle of Israel in that area, if you've ever seen a map of it. But he's camped out over there, and he gets this message that a guy named Lazarus is about to die. And so you need to know that Lazarus is the brother of Martha and Mary. And Martha and Mary and Lazarus, we find out, are really close to Jesus. They're very intimate with him. It's more than just this kind of know you kind of deal, but there's something intimate that goes on there. And so Martha and Mary send out this message to Jesus and say, hey, you need to come. Lazarus is really sick. You need to help him, right? And it says that Jesus says, well, I love him. And then it says, but I'm going to stay here for a couple more days, which is hilarious. Not hilarious and haha, but it just is not the response you would expect, right? And so Jesus stays at where he's at for 2 more days, and then he says, okay, it's time to head back. And we know that at this time we know that Lazarus has already died. He probably died on the day that Jesus received the message. And so by the time Jesus gets to Bethany, where they're located, Lazarus has been in the tomb for at least 4 days. And so Mary and Martha get the message that Jesus is on his way, and it says that Mary stays home, and Martha runs out to him. And Martha says, Jesus, if you had only been here, my brother would not have died. But she then says, but I know whatever you ask of God, it's going to happen. And Jesus says, oh, don't worry about it. He's going to be raised. And he's going to be alive again. And Martha's like, oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, he's going to be in that eternal place, and we're all going to be raised, blah, blah, blah. And Jesus is like, no, you don't get it. He's going to be raised again. And so she runs back home, and Jesus stays where he's at. And Martha says, hey, Jesus is really out there, Mary. And so it says that Mary, there's people all around in their house. They're mourning, they're wailing. And Mary runs out, and the crowd sees that, they want to run out with her as well because they're worried about her. And so she runs out to Jesus. And she falls at his feet and makes the same statement. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. And I want to read to you kind of what he says here. It's in John chapter 11, starting in verse 33. It says, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. And so the story goes on that they take him to the tomb. And if you've probably heard this story where he says, hey, roll that stone away. And Martha makes possibly the most hilarious statement in Scripture and says, hey, it might be a little stinky in there. He's been there for a while. and he doesn't. He rolls the stone away. Jesus says, Lazarus, come forth. Lazarus comes out. It's a great, amazing story. And to me, yes, raising someone from the dead, amazing, miraculous, powerful. But to me, I think what's even more amazing is back at that statement, the shortest verse in the Bible where it says, Jesus wept. And so the question is, why is that so powerful? Why is that important? And there's 2 things. First off, you need to understand that Jesus knew what he was about to do, right? He knew that he was about to go and do something amazing, something miraculous, and that he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead, and that he was going to do something. And so these people are weeping in front of him, and he could have been like, hey, it's okay. I'm about to do something really cool here. Calm down. But in that moment, Jesus weeps. And it says, it makes the statement that he sees them weeping, and that he's deeply moved in spirit and troubled. And those words there, they're not just like, this is kind of awkward, they're crying, but there's something inside of him that it almost gets angry, that his insides are churning, right? That he feels so much empathy, so much compassion, so much love, so much hate for the situation, that he engrosses himself in that moment with them. And it says that he weeps, and this is the weeping that where your body shakes and there's snot coming down, and there's, it's that you just can't control anything, that is what's happening in this moment. And so again, why is that important? I think two things. One, there's this idea that when something bad is happening, our first reaction is want to help, we want to save it, want to make things right. And Jesus knows he's about to do something amazing, but before he does that, he stops and he just joins in the moment. He is present. And there's something about what it means to be present in those moments, just to be there and to be a part of it, right? And so we learn something from that, but also what's amazing is in the name of who Jesus is, right? When he comes and we learn about, the Christmas story and how he comes to this earth and something, we hear the name Emmanuel, right? And that's the word that means God with us. And so it's not just presence, it's not just being there, but what you do while you're there is that Jesus comes and that he's with us so that he can walk with us, so he can be like us, so that he can know what we're going through. I met a friend today, and he gave me this statement that I just love, and I'm just pondering on it. I want to share with you. It says this, it says, I can't love you if I don't know what hurts you. Isn't that amazing? Think about that. I can't love you if I don't know what hurts you. And that's exactly what Jesus is doing here, is that weeping comes from him knowing Mary and Martha and Lazarus, and knowing how this moment truly is ripping them apart, right? What it means to lose someone. And so that is what Jesus is doing, is that he is loving them because he knows what hurts them. And so what do we do with that? How do we apply that today? There's lots of ways I know that you could run with that, and I hope that you do. But for me, in the news cycle, we've had the stories of Ahmaud Arbery, right? And we heard this story, and then just recently of George Floyd. And then you see this conversation that Black Lives Matter has come back into play, and a lot of my my white friends and me being a white male, and what do you do with things like this, right? How do I respond? And you see some people who push back from the concept of Black Lives Matter, and they struggle with that. But then you see others who, what do I do? How do I help in this situation? And so some of us have been posting things on Facebook, whatever. But I go back to that statement that I learned today, that I can't love you if I don't know what hurts you. So each one of us has people in our lives where we see struggle, where we see them in pain, whether it's our African-American friends or the LGBTQ community or homeless people or whatever it is. We see people around us that are hurting, and we wonder, what can we do? And I want to point us to that short verse where Jesus weeps, and what it means for us to weep with him. That means that we're present, but also it means that we know what hurts them. And so for us today, as we struggle with how do we move on from here, how do we not accept what the world has given us and that we want to make changes, the first thing we have to do is not just make posts and make these things. Those are good steps. But I think the challenge to each one of us is to wrestle with what it means to know those people and to know what hurts them, to get to know them, to invite them to our table, to share, to go to their spaces, to go where they are and to love on them, not to make them like us, but to simply know, what is it that drives you nuts, or that drives you to where the inside of you hurt? And I want to know that so that I can hurt with you. And so for me, I think that's what it means for us today in these moments that are going on around us, is that we see that Jesus weeps because he knows them. So that's the challenge for us, is not to just say words and to say that I'm with you, but to get to know our neighbors, to get to know the people who aren't like us, and to find out what hurts them. So I hope that that's something I've been chewing on just now, and I don't have all the beautiful language to put that into words, and I hope the Spirit takes that and lets it grow inside of you and challenges you in some way, that as you see pain all around you, as you see brothers and sisters, as you see people you don't know, who are hurting and wailing and are writing, instead of maybe sitting back and just saying, oh, it'll be okay, or you guys need to stop that, maybe we need to spend the time of what it means to simply get to know them and to know what hurts them so that we can truly, truly love them. Well, I hope that you have a great day, and may we be people who love recklessly and invite everyone to our table so that we can know what it means to hurt with them. Grace and peace.